Tyler McClure. I'm with M3 Fabrication. We've been around for 10 years. We have 64 people right now. We're a contract job shop, so we do laser cutting, welding, forming, powder coating, and everything in between, along with design. So started with 3 people, and we're up to 64 and growing. So today we're going to show you how we integrated paperless parts with Global Shop. So we could do all of our quoting in paperless and then do all of our production in Global Shop. So we'll show you how we do that today. All right, so I have an email here that I got a quote. It's to myself. We do this with customers as well, but if a customer sends us PDF step files generally, and sometimes DXFs, this is how we generally see it from our customers. Sometimes they give us kind of a template of what they're looking for quantities and parts. So if I get this, what I generally do is I forward it on to our paperless account. So in here, I just would hit forward. I actually created a shortcut to them. So I just type in paperless and it already has our smart RFQ listed on there. I'll hit send. And once that email goes through, I'll get a notification from paperless that I have a new quote ready. One thing I highlight, I actually put it in my title block here too for my customers to be able to go out and do a smart RFQ as well. So they can go right to paperless without sending me an email with all this if they want. Some customers like it, some people like it the other way. So we give them that option. I'll jump over into my paperless account. So you can see up here, I just got a notification saying that I have a new RFQ, and I'll also have one in my email inbox as well. Me and several other people in our organization also get this email. So if I'm out, they'll get it and they can jump on it if they have time, or I can jump on it. I'll jump back over. It started it right here. I'll jump right into it. Right now you can see there's some purple boxes here that's kind of showing off some stuff from the smart RFQ system, so it knows when I received the RFQ, so it automatically fills in this date. I can keep that. All my files from that email came in down here, and then I also have my original email, so if I want to view it, I can click that and open it up. So for contact, it didn't fill it in. This one's kind of custom since it's me, but I'll go ahead and put myself in there. I'm already in the system. I also have salesperson for me is myself, and I'm also going to assign myself as an estimator. On top of that, I'll hit this bulk line item here. So in that email, I did have a quantity and a part number. It didn't pick up my description, but I can open it here and see what it is if I need to without having to open my emails and stuff. So I got hanger bracket and bollard weldment. So I'll come back over here and just type that in, or if I want to change the description, the customer, I didn't like what they put in there, I'll put a fan hanger so I don't have to change it later. And we'll do machine bollard. So I'll go ahead and hit create line items. It's going to go ahead and create 2 line items, and it's also going to ask, hey, these match what I have down here in my parts. So I'll go ahead and hit add. So you can see here it added the parts. Generally, we get in the habit of asking our customers to do step files. For us, you'll see why going forward, but some only do DXF. So I'll go ahead and jump into the quote on this part. So we went ahead and filled in the part number, the fan description. That was the description I hand typed in there. I could have made it whatever I want. Inside the revision, it's saying it found A from my print, which if I want to open up my print, I can come right here, verify it if I need to. So I can actually do some of my descriptions up here too. I can see that's Rev A, so I can say, yep, you found the right one. And it can pull some other information. I can also come down here and change my process. Now that I got this part open, I can see exactly what this part looks like. I know this is going to be cut on my 10K laser. So we have these processes that we had set up when we implemented. So our 10K does all of our steel, and I can say what my material is. This is a pretty basic print we get, so we're just going to assume steel, and I can go right into my next part without having to leave this screen. You can see that's my 3D model. I can come over here and also get my PDF if I want to go based off of that for pertinent information. I can see it's trying to pull Rev A again. Even if I don't like that, we try and use all caps. I can change this to all caps and overwrite the AI that it's kind of pulled that up. My descriptions here, I can still change that. I can put in a note saying powder coat orange. I'll come down here for this one as well too, since this is going to be a weldment and it's powder coated. We call that an assembly in our process. Material, we're just going to call it carbon steel, just generic, and hit update. And for the most part, I'm done with this screen. I can close it. I can go into this part. Come down here and I'm going to update my processes now that I've picked that in my last screen. The cool part is it flattened the file. That's why we asked for a step file from our customers. And since I picked this process, it automatically went out to our material. It is 1/4 inch material. You can tell since it's a step file. This is actually pulling from Global. So inside of here, we've linked all of our materials over. About every 20 minutes, it pulls a fresh data over. So if we had a purchase order go through our received material, it'll update our cost as well too. So I can see this cost was actually updated 2 days ago. So there's my material rate we're using, and it picked the right material. If it didn't, I could go change that. I can see all my information down here. For global users down in here, this required quantity is what we're going to use for our material to send over to our ERP. One thing we can look at here too, and I do it on this. This is kind of a long skinny part. I might see if it nests better than just doing the dynamic nesting that it does. I see I got 72 parts is what it figured. I'll run this one real quick. And it got 78, so it improved my square inches on that. I think previously it was 100, so now it's 92. So we can see that update. It updated my cost. I'm doing flat laser. It automatically loaded this because of my process. We also do what we call shakeout. Is how we sort our parts off of the laser. So it's always going to have a shakeout if it has a laser process. And it sees that the part is formed. So it automatically applied our data for forming. So our bin counts, unique bins, stuff like that generates a time for us. And then we have our setup time. So that part is done. We also use these tabs on the right for statuses. So me and my brother kind of review all quotes over a certain dollar limit. So if we have other guys working on quotes, what they'll do is they'll put a status here of in progress or complete, and they'll leave this one for me or my brother to review. So it's kind of handy to have. And once they're both green, you'll see up here that it's been completed. Here's my costs up here. We do have our lead times kind of generated by our processes too, so those change based on what this one's doing. We'll go down into our bollard here. So we picked assembly on this one. It is a weldment for us. Powders here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this requested finishes on. I'll show you why later. And then powder, it didn't pick a powder. There's no real way to pull that up. So I'm going to go look. Search all rows. I'm going to use this one right here. Traffic orange, kind of a common powder. And there's our cost. And that's also pulled over from our ERP global shop. We built some items that figure how much pound usage we're using. I can change that and override it here if I want to. I'm going to leave it. You can see that this is a weldment, so it generated 20-minute setup time with just as our standard where we start. We are not currently using any weld just because we're all over the place, and none of our models include welds in it, so we're just adding that in manually. So I'm going to go ahead and add some time in there. Here's my powder. So the reason why I like doing that finishes is it shows my finish here, and it'll also show it in my quote to the customer as well. So they don't have to ask me what color I'm putting it, or I don't have to add it to my description if I don't want to, if I missed it. And I'm going to delete assembly because we're not going to do any assembly after powder on this one. And then down here, I see my bomb for this. There's 3 parts. It exploded it off my model. I know this part. I'm going to go ahead and preset my processes. It is going to be a saw cut part. We'll just call it A500. And then these 2 parts right here, I know are laser cut pieces. So I will grab my processes for that one as well. 10K laser. And we'll call this grade 50 plate. And I'll hit finish on that. You can see our cost right here generating based on me changing the processes. we put some features in instead of zeroing out if it picks a material that it doesn't like or doesn't have a material. Instead of putting 0 and us accidentally sending it to the customer and losing money, we made it extremely high. So it kind of calls attention to like this little part shouldn't cost $1 million. So, hey, you need some more attention on this. So just little things that we did along the way. So I'm going to go ahead with a global shop. We have to have a description. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this. I'm just going to put in pipe upright. We'll scroll down here. Since I already picked saw, it's looking at it. It sees it's circular. I can see my sizes and my wall thickness right here. So I know that's pipe. It didn't automatically pick it for me because there's multiple selection possibilities. So I'm going to go out and find my material manually, which is pretty easy. It's filtering some of these out for me already, so I don't have quite the selection to choose from. I'll select this one. And you'll see my cost will go from $1 million to something more realistic. My saw time is based off of my cross-sectional area. So that's pretty nice. So if I came in here and I changed my wall thickness size in here, it would actually increase this runtime down here. So that was a nice feature that we added. Other than that, I like this part. I'm going to call it complete. Once these are all green, then I'll go back to the top level. So we'll hammer through these other ones real quick. This one I can see what thickness is. I'll say 11 gauge top cap. This one, it didn't pick my material either. I have a lot of different types of 11 gauge material. I know the one I want, so I'll just type in part of the description and it filters it down. I'll select it. And my material cost gets a lot better. Since this one's round, generally I nest round parts because they nest a lot better. If it was square or rectangular, I maybe not, but I'm going to go ahead and put in my edge buffer and parts. Generate, we'll see what it does. We'll go from 648 to probably get a heck of a lot better. So I've got a new nestable. I can see that I've nested it. I know that's probably better than unnested. I got my laser cut time shakeout. Another thing for global users, you have to have product lines in your parts. It's a requirement in your bill of material, a unit of measure. So these are all features that we had created automatically every time we select a process. It puts this product line at the bottom. And these actually change based off what the last process in the system is. So that's kind of neat. And I can come in here and I can put a customer code in here too, and it'll create a XREF and global as well too. So global users will be familiar with that. So I'll kind of show you that. See right now it's F1. F1 is our flat laser. So we can see that product line. If I came in here and hit powder and pull it up above it, it'll change it to an F5, which is a finished part. So that's a pretty neat feature that we did. So we can pretty much not have to pick a product line for every part as long as our BOM is built correctly. So I'll remove powder back off of there. It'll go back to F1. This part's good. And our last one, which is a 3/8 plate. So I'll come up here, I'll do 3/8 bottom plate. Another thing, I guess I'll show global users too, something that we had to kind of deal with. In global, our part numbers are limited by characters. We have 17 character limit. And if we go over that, it'll error out. So what we built into this is if we made our part number too big, we come down here when we build this and hit regenerate, this product line is going to change to your part number is greater than 17 characters, throwing an error at us. So we have a visual to see, hey, we need to fix our product line. So if I come back up here and get it under 17 characters, and I come back down here and regenerate, that'll go back to a normal line. So that one was fun, kind of out the gate, figuring out, what you can do in paperless. You can do a lot more, I guess, in paperless than you can in global. So you kind of got to follow global's character limits and limitations and stuff like that. So my material here, it actually did pick the right one. It's good. And I'm not going to nest it because it's rectangular. So I'm going to leave it alone. And so this part, all items below are green. I'm happy. All my costs look back in line. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one good. And I've reviewed it myself. and I'm the estimator. I can change this. If I get a lot of lines, I'll change and have different people estimate different parts. So this one's pretty basic. So this quote is pretty well done. If I want to preview it, I can here. This is what the customer sees. I like to preview it before I send to check out my lead times and make sure nothing crazy went on in here. So say customer wants some expedite options. So I'm going to make all of my lead times 4 weeks. If they want it 1 week sooner, it's going to cost them 25% markup. If they want it half the time, it's going to cost them 100% markup. And I'm going to hit apply to all. And you'll see in my preview here, that'll give them those options. And this is what the customer pretty much sees when they get the emailed quote over. You can customize this stuff to whatever you need. Sometimes I use the customer notes and do all caps if I made a change to a quote or something down here. But the reason why I put that powder finish in here is right here. It calls it out. You can see the first part I didn't put that on, so it has no finish. So a customer can come in and say, I want this one super fast. One is really important. They're going to pay quite a bit. Say this one, hey, I got plenty of time. I can order that one, and there's their total. So I will say that that's fired off. Mark is sent. So if you actually do finalize the quote, it's the same thing as marking it as sent. So it falls off of my quotes in draft. I can go to my outstanding quotes now and see that it's here. Some of our customers will use the online checkout and some won't. If they don't, they just send us a traditional PO. What we do is we come in, open it up, compare the PO, say everything looks, everything's good on these. They're all green. It's the same customer. We don't need to change our contact. We'll facilitate the order. I'll have the PO in hand. You can tell what they picked, but we'll say, hey, they wanted one of these and they wanted 20 of these. There's the total. I'll hit create order. In global as well, we have to have a purchase order, so we will not let this pass this step. So if a customer has it, they have to put a purchase order in or they get an error. We're just going to call this Tyler test. So our own facility doesn't have ship to, but this would pull anything out of global that we have. So if they have multiple ship to facilities, I could pick it here, or you can use a one time and push it to global if you want. Bill to, it did see that we were billing there, and I'm going to hit complete order. So now that fell out of my outstanding quotes. It's no longer in here because it was one. You see up here, the order was facilitated. And I can see in my order screen, there's a new one. We kind of use these buttons. If I've reviewed it in global and verified everything's good and pushed it on, I change it to in process. If it's new, it means it needs reviewed. We just use that as an internal process. So I can open it up. I can see this is what they ordered. Here's the cost. Go to my emails. I can see that this order was placed. So since I placed it myself, I still get an email. So does our whole sales team, internal sales team. If the customer placed it, I would get this same email saying the same thing. You can send these order confirmations to the customer. We don't. We send it out of global once we've reviewed and made sure everything's good. Sometimes they have some weird dates and stuff like that too, or change it after they send the order. So we wait until we get everything confirmed. So I can go ahead and delete that. So if I ever need to go back into the quote, I can click in through here through the order. Now that it's in global, we will switch over. So nothing went over to global until it was facilitated. If you're a global user and going to have paperless, you're going to get a ARC project 5807. Inside of that, there's our uploader settings. So you can customize what can push over and what can't push over, kind of the intervals. If the part already exists in global, we don't allow paperless to overwrite it. So if we have ECNs or engineering change orders coming through and we want to change the BOM and router, we change it in global. We don't let paperless overwrite it. So we make global the master since it's driving our production. But if it's a non-existent part, it will create it. We can change that and turn that on and off if we want to here. Another one is the dashboard. It says I have running already. We'll go back down through here. I'll hit refresh. So I can see one of my orders is coming through right there that we just pushed. I have no failed. So if you have an issue where you forgot to put a description in or something like that, and it fails once it doesn't fail in paperless because it doesn't require a description, but global does. You can see it here and then you can fix it if you need to. Since it's in here, it's building. Another cool thing, when we first launched with global and paperless, they didn't have this, but now they do. So now we can hit a log and see what it's doing in our system. So you can see all these lists down here, stuff that's been pushing over from paperless to global. I can show you here too. In paperless, if I come up to my name and hit settings, I come down to my integrations and global shop. And inside of here, I can see what's going on here too. So I can see that I'm connected to global shop currently. If this goes red, usually that means our online system is off on global side. So I can make sure I'm connected here if I have any issue. I can see I exported that order and it went through successfully. You can kind of see my material, my vendor updates. 9 minutes ago, I updated my vendor from global to paperless. If we're creating new vendors, we don't do it in paperless. We do it all in global and allow it to pull over into paperless. That way everything matches up and we don't have any confusion or data missing or anything like that. Same thing with materials, work centers, purchase parts. And I can come over here and say if I made something recently, I can say I want to go ahead and trigger import of our purchase components. If I hit that, it'll go ahead and start that right now instead of waiting for it to queue up in a couple minutes. So it's kind of a handy function. I can see up here, there's my notifications. So on my uploader, it was creating my parts, my routers, and my BOM. It actually failed out my order. It tried to create it too fast. I think it was because I was playing around. So that's kind of the fun part about this. It'll be out of here, it'll be failed. It didn't have my account set up before it tried to push the order, but I can just hit retry here. And it should go through here now. All right, so that was successful. So it failed off the failed dashboard and the pending, it's empty now, so I can close these fields. Here in a second, I will get an email. We got it set up. So global shop, the order was created, which is a sales order. So generally we push orders over, we just keep rolling on. And then once this triggers, it tells us, hey, everything's been processed in the global. You're good to move it forward. But we can see our 1 unit. Here's our price. Here's our promise date. That was based off of the lead times that we were given before. This one had, I think, a 1 week lead time. And then this one had the 4. So you can see that as well. Different quantity, my part number, my rev came through, customer, salesman, all that stuff. We'll go out and actually look at it in this side. So I'm using the new sales order dashboard in global. If I come out here, this order was just pulled over, so I'll refresh and I'll see that it dropped it in. There's my PO. So I'll hit select. So here's my sales order here with my different ship dates. We go by ship dates, not as much due dates. Our price, all of our part numbers, all of our information is here. Nothing's red over here, so it's a good sales order. My terms for my customers based off of what it's in the system, and it's missing that, so I can highlight it, hit save, and close that. So my due date was confused because I had 2 different ship dates, so I just put a generic one in there for the newest one. But we don't use that in our system as much as we do by ship by dates. And I will also show you a bill of material for one of those parts. So we'll do AA13831. We have to refresh because this is new. It's kind of a global feature. If you use the old dashboards, you don't have to do the refresh. I like the view of the new one, but it does take a little time to load. We'll refresh this. We do have quite an extensive amount of parts in our system. We're a contract job shop, so we see parts once or we see parts several times and everything in between. So it's kind of why we went with paperless too, is we didn't want to cloud up global with more part numbers if we didn't win the work. So our win rates, 10, 15%, you got 90% of junk. We want to keep that out of our ERP system. and keep it into paperless. So if we win it, it comes over. If we don't, it dies there. So there's my BOM. I can see my router came over for this part. This was the simple one. My op code is filled in. That's based off what we set up in paperless. My times all got converted over. So if you saw when I was in here, you can use different times. I don't really like how Global's set up for their times. I like seeing this in minutes. Even if I didn't like this, I can switch it over to seconds or hours, which on some weldments I would switch my runtime to hour just so I'm not trying to figure out how many hours is in that setup. But the nice part is it automatically configures it back. So everything is hours per piece in Global, even though you can select these, you can't make it a default, but it converts all that over, brings over my rev. If I click over here, my product line, which was something that's required, is here. My manufacturer to stock, that was part of that product line over there as well too. And all my quantities came over. So my BOM and router, which is both shown here, is both good. We also have it auto checking that they are complete since it came over from paperless. We wouldn't have won the order if they weren't complete, so we don't send them out without it. So it also created our inventory order. Sometimes old users would have to click this and hit save if you were building it. So it'd create an inventory for all these parts. If it's one, it's automatically an inventory part in our global shop. So come over here and verify that. I forgot my part number. AA13831. We'll tab over. It's Rev A. So it went ahead and created its unit of measure. Got lead time that came over, the order quantity, the list price, which is what we pushed over. And it's all created. I didn't have to do that. That XREF, I didn't make one on that part, but if I put a customer number in, it would automatically came in here, made an XREF for that customer. Our parts aren't sold to multiple customers. It's pretty much customer direct. So our purchase parts use that, but we don't use it for a manual very much. So other than that, everything's good there. So I would be ready to make a work order and send it to the floor because my BOM and router is already built and complete and done. So our laser cut parts was probably our biggest saver. Being able to auto generate a BOM and router times. Previously for global, we had to have our nester actually come through here and tell us how many parts could fit on a sheet, how long it would take to cut. He would build a nest, so he was using a nesting program. We've since let that nesting program die. It was just a quoting program for us. We have a different nesting software we use that's tied to our ERP, but doesn't really generate times as well. So we let a software die when we got paperless, and then all of our times are the same no matter who's quoting it. We only had one license of that, where paperless, anybody that has a license. So anybody that has a license can jump in and quote it, a laser cut part. Tube laser is the same way. So up in here, we've configured some tables. So this is our laser cut tables. If it was stainless, we cut that on our 5K. So we've got a different table because our 4K will cut a lot slower than our 10K. But we got those tables. And then we've got our tube laser cut rates here as well too. So anything that has a hole in it that's structural tube channel, it will automatically default to tube laser. So that's kind of nice as well too. So for tube laser, we were using the tube laser software to generate times, and that was pretty painful as well too. So instead of training a quoter to run tube laser software, laser nesting software, our ERP, we can pretty much get them in paperless, and they can do a full quote to the customer, create an order, even if they don't know global shop. They could still be a quoter. So it's kind of condensed it all down to one software. So other than that, yeah, we run the rest of it through here. Invoicing, everything's gone right through Global Shop, all the way through the end process. If they order it again, we usually don't go back to paperless since the parts are all loaded unless there was a change or a rev change. We just trigger another sales order in Global Shop. So it's kind of how we treat it right now. If it's a new part, it'll all come from paperless, so it automatically does the BOMs and routings. Because this part right here, leaving our old ERP going to global, was quite slow. We used to do a lot of spreadsheets and import. It wasn't very clean to get to global. Took a lot of clicks and button mouses and a lot of manual data entry. So we've gotten rid of that with paperless. So our biggest joy of working with paperless is it's easy to use, it's easy to train, and if we have something wrong, we can get an answer pretty quick. We've been integrated for over a year now. I still talk to the integration team that onboarded us. If I have a question, Aaron Liu is one of them. We always talk highly of him. We shoot him an email, and usually he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I had some in the background, got it fixed." It's really fast. It seems like they're hungry to adapt the system. We asked for changes when we were launching, and a lot of those changes, in the past when you go to companies like, yeah, we'll note it, and you kind of feel like it gets lost. And I think we had like 7 kind of bullet points along the way. I think by the time we actually went live, 4 of them were already taken care of. And I think since launching, that smart RFQ was one of them that we were kind of wanting that launched after we went live too. So just a lot of good latest and greatest stuff going on. It doesn't feel old. The AI features is kind of nice. Some of our guys like to use it, some of them don't. They've got an option where they can say, yeah, I like that. That thing in purple is right. Click it and it's done. Or the old guys are going to be like, no, I'm going to type it in. It can go both ways. So a lot of it's the speed. It's a lot faster to build a bomb and router with all the kind of integrations and stuff we got built in paperless. So our biggest problem from our customers 2 years ago, we went around and did kind of surveys of our top 15 customers. It was speed of quotes, turn around. You're like, we love your product. We love your quality. We wish you could get us a quote back sooner. And so we're going, okay, how do we do that? We didn't feel like there was a way we could really, we didn't want to throw 5 people into quoting and just throw manpower at it. We wanted to find a faster solution, plus something that everybody would have the same price. So if I quote something and Sam quotes something and 2 of our other guys quote something, you get 4 other prices. We didn't like that. We wanted, this is standardized. So there's a way to standardize it. So that was 2 of the big hitters for us, speed and standardization. Since then, we're getting quotes back usually within the same day that they send it to us. It's a big weldment. It may take a day or 2 to pull some purchase parts over, but our quote speed is heavily increased. It's won us business. We had a couple customers that, their laser went down. They have 500 parts. How do you quote that fast? So we can dump in the DXFs or the step files, dump in that spreadsheet. If they're all just laser cut, we can let it auto generate all that, and we have a quote together. So we had some business where, hey, I'm down. I need a number so I can get you the work. We had them a quote within the hour, and we got, $50,000 project. So if we didn't have that our old school way, that would have probably taken us 4 days to quote with a solid guy. And then by the time that 4 days was up, we were already delivering parts to them versus delivering them a quote that we hadn't started cutting on yet. So we bought your competitor 3 years ago, and we were down the road with them, and we couldn't integrate with our old ERP system. So at the time, we stopped, halted, and changed our ERP system because it wasn't just that, but it was some other functions that wouldn't integrate with it. And when we changed to global, they kind of, introduced you guys to us. We were going to go back to the old guys, but we said, okay, we're starting fresh. Let's do a comparison. And we picked paperless, and going through, I would say we were probably 30% through on the first integration with the other company. This one was way smoother. I know when we started, our biggest thing was I want to talk to somebody that has global shop and is integrated with it and prove to me that you guys can talk, kind of like what I'm doing today, I guess. But we had, pretty good. That's probably what won us over for paperless. You guys had better customer references than what we could get from your competitor. And we also started down the road and found out that it failed the first time when they said it would integrate. So we didn't have a warm and fuzzy there either. So